Alrighty, there we go. So, sorry about that. We're gonna try this again very quickly, or very shortly here. So we're gonna start back over. I don't know what is going on with my streaming stuff, and I apologize for that. Um, but basically, we're gonna continue with where we started at. We're gonna start with here. So welcome again. If I kicked you off, I'm sorry. Please come back. I know you can't hear me now, but at major additives causing cancer. Sorry, I'm jumping on that one for you. You figured it out. But basically, they were given these foods were given scores based on how likely it was to contain a given additives. And they had a lot of different types of foods that they tracked during this whole study. So what kind of additives were the riskiest that they talked about? Flavors, flavor enhancers, coloring agents, think like the blue legs, the red colored, the red dye, all those things which are terrible for you, as well as sweeteners that are not sugar. So think like aspartame, sucralose. I don't even know what that one is. Acetylfame, saccharin I've heard of, but also other types of sugars like fructose, lactose, and maltodextrin. They were also risked to a higher or linked to a higher risk. So interesting. Um, so basically, what happened? Well, um, when people's diet, as you can see here in this sentence, consisted of that 18 percent P. What is that? UPFs. They had higher risks of a lot of different things. So, but we'll talk about that in just a second here. We'll scroll down. Caveats. So basically, here's a statement by Tara Schmidt. She's a registered dietitian for the Mayo Clinic, which, you can choose to believe them or not. It's up to you. But it basically says, well, the overconsumption of ultra processed foods has been linked to adverse health outcomes. That doesn't necessarily mean all processed foods are bad. So, yeah, it's pretty good. Um, so yeah, I mean, I just wanted to talk about this briefly because we all know that ultra processed foods are bad, right? Processed foods bad, healthy food is good. We should all be striving to eat very non-processed foods, right? We should strive to eat, not raw food. I don't think, but we should strive to eat normal non-processed foods as much as possible. I think that's healthy, actually, um, because your body isn't meant to process processed foods. It's meant to process normal foods. So I think that causes a lot of different issues, to be honest. But anywho, the other topic that I wanted to talk about here was lab grown meat. Um, and lab grown meat ban goes into effect in red state and faces a legal challenge. Basically, what this revolves around is right to know. So, in a sorry, excuse me. So, um, also here, and this article is about Florida, mind you. So, but I have something else here too. In a controversial move, Florida has become the first state to enact a complete ban on the sale and manufacturing of lab grown or cultivated meat. It was signed into law by Governor DeSantis. The legislation is championed by supporters as a necessary measure to protect the state's traditional cattle and farming industries from what they describe as unnatural and unnatural and experimental food source. Yeah, 100%. The ban immediately faced significant legal challenges from food technology advocates, including the Good Food Institute. They're saying the law is unconstitutional, claiming it stifles innovation. One second. Stifles innovation, sorry, limits consumer choice, and illegally restricts interstate commerce for a product that regulators have already approved. So whether they should have approved it or not is a whole nother story. Now, Texas is doing a very similar thing. They just banned um, lab grown meat, but they also face a lot of legal challenges here. And it's the same exact legal challenges. I think you're going to see this a lot more as we start to see what we need to do as a country and start banning a lot of these artificially designed, I guess, meats. You know, artificially made meat products. uh, we're gonna start seeing people fight back, unfortunately. Um, and I guess I give it. Excuse me, holy cow! I can drink a coffee. Mm. So I'll give it to them on at least trying, right? Um, if they've at least tried to for the right reason, but unfortunately, I think it's the wrong reason. So um, basically, let's see here. So let's read through this. I haven't gone through this in very much detail, so we'll take a look at it together, and you guys have it up. Let me zoom it in a little bit. There we go. Took effect September 1st, so a few days retroactive actually. Banned the sale of cultured meat until 2027. That's interesting that it's just a certain period of time and not forever. First of all, Um, yep, livestock industry leaders were a big, I'm sure, proponent of it because now they don't have to compete with that because I'm sure lab grown meat is cheaper than um than the fake meat product. So, let's see here. hmm And I think at least in this Texas law, from what I just briefly saw over when I copied and pasted it here, is that it's basically it's more so a right to choose. People just want to know what's in their meat. That's all. They don't really, a lot of people do care, but yeah, a lot of people do care, but um, I love the comments. A lot of people do care about what's in their meat, but a lot of them just want to know what's in their meat because a lot of times people will put this in their meat without telling them. So, so I had an interesting comment in my YouTube stream, and I don't understand exactly. Yeah, I'm not putting that on screen, but and that's exactly what this is. So you can see. Let's see. Hold down. So if you guys weren't familiar with what cultivated products, right? This is the key word here. Not lab grown because they don't want to use that officially. Excuse me. Is they're grown in tanks, right, from a living animal, um, or a fertilized egg, and they're given special like nutrients, right? Um, sorry, one second. I'm talking to this guy, Crude Red, in my YouTube chat. Hey, Crude. Um, he brings up an interesting point, right? He asked, and oh, I don't even know how I can put this on the screen, to be honest. Can I? Hold on. Yeah, there we go. I love this. This is awesome. Are you racist? Like, wow, that came out of left field. So, I don't know if you actually want the real truth or not, because everybody, I'll give you a hint, everybody is racist to a point. Now, do I think that one race is better than the other? No, of course not. We're all equal. We all matter. We're all valuable in the sight of God, and not one of us is better than the other, and not one of us should have preferential treatment for anything, jobs, public service, nothing. So, I know that was kind of out of left field, but Crude Red, um, hopefully you heard that and heard that answer, because it's easier than trying to type all of that out while I'm focusing on this other topic. So sorry for everybody else that is watching. Anywho, if he comes back, we will revisit that. Okay, well, you can't you can't use language, so that's gonna get deleted. All right. Sorry, man. But anywho, so the cells in this cultured meat are given basically the slurry of different stuff. It's totally not natural. Um, and then basically when it comes time to for that meat to grow, it grows, and then they take it out and then they shred it up and they make it into little cutlets and nuggets and other shapes. And it is totally not natural, and it is really disgusting, kind of. So you have two companies here. Oh, interesting. In both headquartered in California, Upside Foods and Good Meats. So I'm curious if one of these makes like the Beyond products or the Impossible products. So let's see here. Who makes Possible burgers? Well, okay, yeah, a company founded. Let's try this. Let's try Beyond. Obviously, okay. Beyond Meat. Okay, so it's not connected at all, it seems like. Ups Good Meats. Let's see here. Good Meat. Okay. If this is a normal butcher, I'd honestly be pretty surprised. So, well, that's very interesting. They're very proud of the fact that they're selling cultured meat. Let's see. Let's go to about. Let's see. Let's learn about this company, Good Meats. I mean, their website is very nice. I'll give them that. Wow. See, here's the problem, though, and here's where it just blows my mind a little bit. Right? Is good meat is real meat? No, it's not. It is grown in a lab. It is not grown in a field with a cow eating grass or whatever. Um, without tearing down a forest or taking a life. So you can tell, right? You always got to think about like, where did these people come from? Like, what is their backing and why are they doing this? And in this case, it's pretty clear that these people are coming from a perspective of like veganism, basically, looking for something to eat, looking for a meat type of product. So, yeah. This is how, I mean, this is basically Beyond or Impossible meat products. We are the first company in the world to sell cultivated meat. Yeah. I tell you what, I'm going to see if I can find I'd be super interested to see if they have like I bet they don't, to be honest, but Good Meat, what was it? Company production or something like that. Production. I'd be really interested to see if they actually have a video about how they make it. And all right. This is not by Good Meat, but I think this could be an interesting video. This is by CNBC. So let's watch this here for a second as an audience, and we'll see what it says. Because this might explain a little bit more to everybody. Oh, it would really help if you guys could hear. Stand by.
See. Change. Lab-grown food is being From the poor treatment of animals to uneven food distribution and even climate change, lab-grown food is being hailed by some as a solution for many of today's biggest issues. Our global agricultural system is responsible for over a quarter of all greenhouse gas emissions. Among the worst offenders are beef, dark chocolate, coffee and fish, based on emissions per kilogram.
First of all, I'm going to tell you right up front, I know that this is going to be very pro, grown meat, and so just to warn you.
There has been a lot of hype around cell-cultivated food, but how viable is the industry? What does it entail? And more importantly, will consumers bite?
Can you do the honours and lift the lid on your creation?
Over a decade ago on The Edge, we reported on the world's first ever cultured beef burger, unveiled by Professor Mark Post from Maastricht University.
That looks disgusting. Look at that. It looks like a bunch of worms in there. That does not look real. Why would someone eat that? Do you guys see that? Holy cow. No, that is disgusting.
On the world's first ever cultured beef burger, unveiled by Professor Mark Post from Maastricht University, it cost around €250,000 to produce. He went on to set up Mosa Meat, a company which aims to bring the burger to the masses, and he's not alone. There are now hundreds of startups developing their own lab-grown products, but just how do they do it? It's a relatively simple procedure, and similar for both meat and plant-based production. For meat, simply take stem cells from animals' tissue, add a nutrient-rich solution and watch the cells multiply into the three main components of meat: muscle, fat, and connective tissue. Then put the cells into bioreactors, or as they're more commonly known, cultivators. These cells are then separated and rearranged to build a final edible product. This part of the process is called scaffolding and can be very complicated. A steak, for instance, needs a lot more scaffolding than ground meat in a burger. The entire process takes between 2 and 8 weeks, but the payoff can be huge. It's estimated that just 1,000th of a pound of cow cells can create up to 4.4 billion pounds of beef. That sounds like an impressive return, so what's the holdup? Well, cost is a big issue. Currently, lab-grown meat is around 40% more expensive than animal meat. And then there's health and safety concerns. All production must happen in a completely sterile environment because the cells have no natural immunity from diseases. And while traditional meat is nutritionally dense, most of its proteins, vitamins and minerals are introduced via animal feed. You have to add these nutrients into cultured meat, and it's still unclear whether today's additives provide equal nutritional value in the long term. As a result, regulators can't seem to align on the technology. Singapore became the first country in the world to approve cultured meat for human consumption in 2020. The US followed suit 3 years later, and the UK's Food Standards Agency approved use for pet food in early 2024. Italy, meanwhile, has banned the production, sale and import of lab-grown meat entirely, with the government citing its potential negative impact on the country's farming industry. France and Romania might do the same. The EU so far has not offered any guidance, but if it does greenlight use, it could put Brussels on a collision course with angry farmers. Some critics are calling for more research into the environmental impacts of cultured food, especially if production is ramped up significantly. After all, the manufacturing process still requires an energy source, but those championing the industry believe the benefits outweigh the negatives. They say cultured food has the potential to dramatically reduce food waste, tantalize our taste buds with things we've never traditionally eaten, and could provide health benefits by tailoring food to nutritional needs, such as removing gluten or saturated fats without compromising on the taste. According to consulting firm McKinsey, cultivated meat could make up as much as 0.5% of the world's meat supply by 2030, making it a $25 billion global industry.
Yeah, that's disgusting looking. Holy cow. No, thank you. I do not want to. No, we don't want to watch that. Sure, it's a good video, but yeah, that's disgusting. Good meats. I can't believe how disgusting that thing looked. Ooh, let's see what kind of careers they have. That'll be interesting. Oh, job board does not exist. Boo. Oh man, that's unfortunate. Well, what's the other company? What do I remember here? Upside Foods. Let's see here. Let's see what they have to say. So that was sure disgusting looking. Upside Foods. Okay. Meet the new meat. Yeah, that looks disgusting. That does not look natural. Like, if you guys can see this on the right here, this, like, if you can see the texture here on this stuff, oh man, it's gonna freak out. It doesn't even, like, even with vegan meat, which is terrible for you, and I've tried it unfortunately, but even with vegan meat, it looks like homogenous and all one. This just looks like a weird concoction. This is worse than chicken meat or vegan meat. Holy cow. That's disgusting. Okay. I'm about done with that topic for now because I just can't handle it. So I did want to mention one thing here with Charlie Kirk. Well, a couple of things. So, I don't know if you guys saw the news briefing yesterday from the Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, the governor of Utah, and the director of DPS. I want to say is his title for Utah. It was actually pretty good. I was pretty impressed by it. They're good speakers and had a lot of good things to say and did a lot of good work, and I'm super proud of them. So, um, but the other thing that I will say is people are asking a lot, why are we so making such a big deal about Charlie Kirk? We didn't know him specifically. We didn't know him. I get it, right? I get it. If you didn't know a guy and he passes away, why do we care so much? And it's because it is why he was killed. It's because it was a political assassination. And while yes, I agree with most things that Charlie Kirk said, not 100% for sure. I'd have some disagreements with him. But I agree with 95% of what he said. And I think the important part is he was getting the youth involved. He was getting the youth going. And that matters. And I think for President Trump, and he realizes that he got President Trump elected maybe because he got the youth moving, got the youth involved, got the youth to think and not just believe professors at their college. Because college is not the answer for everybody, or really most people anymore, outside of doctors, nurses, engineers. No one should be going to college. I mean, I wish I would have gone to something, got my degree in something more appropriate. But that's what Charlie stood for, and he stood for getting the youth involved. And I think the only thing that this is going to do is get the youth, get the conservatives, even the Republicans, because that's a different thing, right? And get them all just fired up. And I think it already has started. And I had a friend who made this cool logo thing that's turned the Turning Point USA into Tipping Point USA, which was pretty funny, and I really appreciated that. I don't know if I can find that now, but yeah, that is exactly what's happening, right? That is exactly what's happening because for so long, I think we, especially conservatives, have just haven't been involved, haven't tried, pushed and done a bunch of stuff. And I think that this is really a wake up call for most of them. I hope at least, right? I mean, let's see if this opens. Because we really cannot do this anymore. We cannot let the liberals take over. There you go, Tipping Point USA. I thought that was pretty cool because it really is. It really is a tipping point for the U.S. I feel like, and I think a lot of conservatives would agree with that statement. So, anywho, so Charlie Kirk, he was a good guy. We're sad he's gone. No, he's in a much better place, and hope his wife and kids do okay. So, we are constantly praying for them for sure. The last topic I wanted to talk about here and see if I can't pull it up is Venezuela. I know it's kind of a sleeper there for most people, right? But Venezuela's had a lot of issues in the last 30 years. I mean, Hugo Chavez, right? You heard of Nicolas Maduro? Yep. Those are all Venezuela guys. And so while we had a good relationship with them for a long time because of fuel, they have a lot of oil reserves there. It has soured a lot in the last 20 years or so, mostly because of Hugo Chavez and then Nicolas Maduro. Um, and there's allegations that they are um, tied to drugs, right? Tied to mostly cocaine, and coming into the U.S. and we don't want to align ourselves with them. Well, um, what's happened this week, and if you guys haven't seen it, then I'm sorry, we are going to talk about it. But they made a stand, and it is quite crazy what they've done and changed the policy. But this is what came out and what happened September 2nd, I believe. So a little over a week now, but still, it's worth watching. So this is a boat in the Gulf of Mexico that came from Venezuela, and you can see all of the drugs in the boat on the bottom there with about 11 people on board. And it's speeding down, knows it's being watched, and boom. Yep. That is a U.S. military missile that just hit that boat. And as far as we are aware, killed all of those people, you know? So yeah. I know if you guys have ever read or listened to rather books like Clear and Present Danger, from Tom Clancy, he talks about this kind of stuff basically, We did this as a country in the 80s and we just still haven't talked about it, right? Some of it's been declassified, some of it hasn't, but what we do know and have been able to put together is that they attacked boats and planes bringing drugs over the Gulf. So this is nothing new. For people to be upset about this, it is nothing new. And I think there's a lot of people upset about this that are saying, well, why are we attacking boats and stuff? And why are we just shooting and not arresting them? Well, because we've tried that for a long time. We've tried that as part of the war on drugs since we stopped shooting boats and planes. And has it worked? No. No, they still come over on a daily basis and they are killing people. Look to your left, look to your right, look to a family member. I guarantee you know someone who has been affected by drugs, right? I mean, we have family members who are, and we're still beholden to the drugs, right? And do you know who is fueling the majority of these drugs and the majority of these drug programs? It's Mexico and Venezuela and South America. And so we can't just keep doing what we are doing. We can't just keep trying to interdict them. I would never suggest that we kill innocent people, but I don't think they're innocent. I mean, this is just akin to if we were in Afghanistan again, right? And we were targeting insurgents that were killing our troops or had killed our troops. It's the same exact thing. One second. I was totally about to sneeze and didn't want to do that. But it's the same thing. We are just stopping it before it gets here. And so as long as the US government has a good way of figuring out and confirming that these are these narco terrorists, then yeah, I am full for it, right? We need to send a message. And I think honestly, above anything else, that's what this was sending a message to Venezuela, to the drug traffickers that like, hey, we're not just going to sit and let this happen anymore. We are tired of it. We're tired of these drugs killing our people, so let's do this and then we'll go from there. So I, this is obviously an interesting topic to me, right? So if you guys don't know, I was a police officer for a long time, but, I do care about our country as well and care about the state of our country and want it to grow and do better. And that's why I think this is a really important topic and why I made this video this week. Now, it's not completely done, but I do want to share with you guys at least the first few minutes because I think it explains a lot of the backstory about Venezuela and or at least a little bit and about why we are in the place that we are. So let me switch over here and then I'll just start playing you the content here. And oh, nope, don't want to do that. and we will go from there. I'll be back with you.
September 2nd, 2025, the President of the United States posts a video to social media. It shows a boat in the Caribbean being obliterated by a missile. 11 people are killed instantly. The official story? These were positively identified narco-terrorists from a Venezuelan gang called Tren de Aragua, running drugs in the US. The Venezuelan government's response? Well, first they claimed the video was a fake, maybe made with AI. Then, they said the attack never happened at all. Finally, they called it an extrajudicial murder. Meanwhile, in a small Venezuelan coastal town, families began to mourn 11 of their sons, fishermen who had gone out to sea and never came back. So what's going on here? How did we get from diplomatic squabbles to kinetic strikes in the Caribbean? This isn't just another chapter in the long, messy history between the US and Venezuela. This is something new, something dangerous. This is the story of how the war on drugs got a military upgrade, and how a boat full of men became the first casualty of a new, undeclared war. To understand how we got here, you have to understand that the US and Venezuela weren't always at each other's throats. For most of the 20th century, there were, well, friends is a strong word. Let's call them partners of convenience. Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves on the planet, and for decades, the US was its biggest customer. It was a simple, transactional relationship. We got the oil, and Venezuela for a time was a stable democracy in a continent full of military dictatorships, many of whom, and this is just a fun little historical note, were backed by the US. But even that stability had a dark side. Before Venezuela's democracy was established in 1958, the US had no problem supporting brutal dictators there, as long as they were good for business. We even gave the Legion of Merit to a guy named Marcos Perez Jimenez, a dictator whose regime was famous for horrific torture because he was, and I quote, generous to transnational corporations. I know. It's this history of hypocrisy that created the perfect opening for a man named Hugo Chavez. When Hugo Chavez, a charismatic former army colonel, was elected in 1998, he didn't just change Venezuela. He flipped the chessboard on its relationship with the US. He called his socialist project the Bolivarian Revolution and positioned the US as its #1 enemy. He cozied up to Fidel Castro in Cuba, nationalized US assets, and
Well, sweet. My camera stopped working. So we are just gonna focus on these guys. But anywho, it overheated, sorry. So I fully support it. I mean, so as far as anything else that's happened in the news, oh man, excuse me. Turn this off. There's been kind of a lot. There was a school shooting, but it all kind of got overshadowed by the Charlie Kirk thing, right? So it's there's a lot of topics we could talk about, but I really wanted to keep it short and sweet this week. And talk about those few things, those food additives, talk about Charlie Kirk, and talk about Venezuela. If you guys have topics that you would want us to talk about, topics that you think are interesting to this channel, which is focused on homesteading, prepping, news stories that will affect and are related to that, then please let us know. Put it in the comments here. We will get it. We will see it and try and find those specific stories or stories like that. But we want to be a place where you can find topics like that, where you can hear about them, we can talk about them and have discourse, even surprise if we disagree. I know it's crazy, right? So please, if you have those ideas, let me know. I'd love to hear from your point of view, from your perspective, and see where everybody is coming from, even if we disagree, because that's what matters, in this world, is disagreements, and being able to talk through it. And unfortunately, that was not the case for Charlie Kirk this week. But I hope we can we can help his legacy and have good discourse in the future. So let me know in the comments. Thank you guys for joining us this morning. We are planning to do this every week. So make sure to tune in, come back every Saturday morning at 7 to talk about some of the big and important news stories of the week that affects us as homesteaders and preppers and farmers. So thank you guys again. We truly appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon.